first thing that we're going to want is, I've got all these classes still. Hold on. Let's see if I can just delete the vast majority of them. Okay, I will not delete my interactive interface. The rest of these I'm going to delete. Okay, so first, what we want is we want to create our enemy, right? And again, we're starting high level, so I'm just going to call this, here's our, well, we'll just call it, we'll just make it a pawn, right? Here's our BP enemy. Okay. Our enemy is going to have, let's give it a mesh. Sure, and it can be a, should have a, don't have a mannequin in here, huh? Have anything? Do you have a barrel? Our enemy will be a barrel. Right. Here's our enemy. It's like that movie Rubber where it's a tire. So we've got our enemy, and we need to give it a brain. So to do that, we create our AI controller. BP. Well, actually, it's not a BP. It would be like AIC, something like that. Enemy controller. Okay. And then in our enemy blueprint class, right over here, we have this AI controller class, and we're going to set it to AIC enemy controller. So now, this brain that I just made is in this body. Easy so far, right? So you want it to do something, we would do it in here. What we want to do is we need to give this sort of a behavior, right? So it's a brain, but it doesn't actually have any behavior. So what we do is we create and this is a super brief rundown of AI because I'm trying to get to the actual lane stuff. But this is what we call a behavior tree. So BT, enemy, AI, something like that. And over here, we basically just do a behavior. On begin play, we call something called run behavior tree, and we select our enemy AI asset. And that's it. Basically, our enemy brain, which is here, which will power this body of the barrel, will run whatever behavior we put in here. And this you'll need to learn a little separately on how does a behavior tree work, but essentially, we create little nodes. I'm going to, in sequence, I want to move directly towards something, and then I want to play a sound, something like that, right? So this behavior is going to start here, it's going to go to here, and it's going to activate this and then this. And all these bits of information we get from something called a blackboard, which is essentially like the memory of the brain. So be enemy, like that, where we can put in bits of information that we want the enemy to know about, or whatever the AI is to know about. So maybe location, something like that. And now over here, if I have to assign it a blackboard, and I don't remember how I do that. Don't want that. Okay, well, the other way to do it is to just, because I forget how to assign it specifically. The other way to do it is to just hit new blackboard, and then it'll auto-assign the two of them. So we can see I've got a new one here now. But anyways, all of that is sort of, let's call it irrelevant for the most part, because what we really want to focus on is the patrolling, or the lanes rather, and getting them to move from point A to point B. So we need to get these enemies to spawn. So I'm going to create another blueprint class. It's just going to be a regular actor class. I'm going to call it BP enemy spawn point. And it's going to be nothing but a default scene route. That's it. And what I'll also add in here is enemy type. And this is going to be a type of BP enemy, a class reference specifically. So it's not actually an object reference, it's just the class itself. And I'm going to make that public. And then I'm going to make one other thing. and I'm going to call this what's the word I'm looking for? Lane points, something like that. Okay. No, I'll call it lane route. That makes more sense. And this is going to be a vector. Oops. Vector. And it's going to be an array. And I'm also going to expose that. And in here, I'm just going to basically say on begin play, I want to add a custom event, or sorry, so I want to set a timer, something like that. Set timer by event, custom event, spawn enemy. And let's say every 2 seconds, and we'll put it on a loop. Every 2 seconds, I want to spawn an enemy. So I can do that by just doing spawn actor from class. And I'm going to plug in my enemy type. So it's going to create an actor of this type, which we know is our barrel enemy right here. And it wants to transform. So I'm just going to give it get actor transform self, because we want to spawn it right there. And that's it. Once we spawn this enemy, the brain will take over and it'll run the behavior tree, which theoretically should be telling it to move forward or to do whatever, right? Now, how do we get it so that it goes along the points? Well, we have this lane route, right? So what's going to happen is if I... now, there's 2 ways to do it. I'm going to show you with a vector, but you can also do this with something called a spline component, which is basically like creating a bunch of like a preset amount of lines, and then it'll just kind of walk along the lines. But what I'm going to do is basically just use a vector for now, and let me see. Where is our spawn point? So I'm going to bring that in, and just so we know where it is, I'll also add a mesh, although probably you don't really need to do this because there is no reason for there to be a mesh. I'm just doing it so that I know where our spawn point is. So here's my spawn point, right? Hard to tell without any ground there, but let's say it's on the ground. And you can see over here, I can set my enemy type. So I want it to be BP enemy. And you can also see I've got this lane route, okay? Now, one thing that I also want to add is I'm going to click this Show 3D widget, which is on the details panel of this lane route thing. What that's going to let me do is if I add point here, you can see this little guy just showed up, this lane route 0. If I move this, let's say to like 50, okay, maybe let's move it to like -1000. You can see I just moved this over to here. And I can actually grab that and move it around, and you can see my indexes. Okay. So that I want it to go to like point number 1, and I want that to be there. Now I'm going to add another one. There's a faster way of doing this, but for now I'm going to just do it like this. I'm going to move, well, that's point 1. I want to move point 2. I keep moving the wrong one. There. Point 1. So theoretically it goes from here to here. Okay, that's my route. Super simple. So how do we get the enemy to understand what that route is? Well, it's really easy. We give it the same sort of variable, lane route. Doesn't have to be the same name, but I'll make it that. Vector. And I want to change, I want to add this new one in called expose on spawn. We want that. I think it has to be public as well. And now, over here, I delete this. And go back to actor from class. You can see I have this new option right here for a lane route. And I'm going to just plug in the current one. So now, whatever spawns here at this square, or cube, or whatever, will receive this lane route as the information for where to move to. So the AI controller doesn't really need to know about it. The enemy itself kind of knows about it. Basically, just knows that it has a vector called lane route. So what do we do with that? That's where we plug it into our blackboard. Or if we don't want to send it to the pawn, what we could even do is basically send this to the AI enemy controller. If we don't want to run a behavior tree, we can literally just create like our own function to move the enemy from one spot to the next, something like that. The behavior tree part is pretty easy. I would say watch just really any video on like, intro to AI and Unreal or something like that. You'll learn about how to work with this and how to work with Blackboard. And the main thing you want to do is basically get our Blackboard to have a location. And somewhere in our enemy controller or our enemy or whatever, basically you want to get a Blackboard. Let's say, well, here, I'll put it in here. Blackboard, my Blackboard ref, something like that. Blackboard key selector. Let's just call this location key. Actually, I'm remembering how this works as I'm doing it because I haven't done this in a little while. Let me do a get Blackboard. So whatever Blackboard is being controlled by is kind of owning us. Might even need to do this from a behavior tree, but we're going to find out in 1 second. No, guess we're fine. Blackboard. We want to set value as vector. The key name is going to be location key. Oh, hold on. This is not what I wanted. I think if I plug, can I plug you in? No. Give me a sec. Value vector. Oh, I think get value is if I want a key. If I want to set value, yeah, okay. I remember now. Okay, so we do want to set this. This is a location key name. Plug that in, and then basically we just want to send the information from here, lane route, over to here, which I mean we can do pretty easily if we wanted to do like a get AI controller. Yeah, that's fine. And then do like a pass to what did I call it? Enemy controller. Pull off of that. Then if I have a variable in here called like again lane route, I know we've got a lot of these, but we're basically just kind of passing them along from person to person. Lane route is that. Something like that. And then over here, we do like a index. How do I? Yeah, okay. I don't want to get a copy. I want to get a reference to, number 0. Plug that into there. Something like that. Okay. So I'll walk you through what I just did. Basically, our goal is to get this information, this lane data. We want to plug that somewhere into the AI brain. Where is it? Which is this AI controller. And the AI controller runs a behavior tree. And the behavior tree runs off of the Blackboard for its memory. So we need to send that lane data into here, into its memory somehow so that it knows where to go. So that in here, I can just say move directly towards not self-actor, new location. Okay? So how do we make new location? Understand what location we want to actually go to? Well, We start by sending the information from the spawn point into the enemy, which happens here. We spawn the enemy. We're going to send our lane data right into the enemy's brain. Okay? Now, once that enemy knows about it, right in here, now we need to send that into our behavior, basically, once our body knows about it, we need to send it into our brain. You can also skip this step if you want, and basically do a get AI controller as to see enemy controller set lane. You can skip this by just plugging it directly into there. So what we've done is we've spawned the actor, and then we've gotten the thing controlling the actor, and then we've plugged this into the controller. So we do that, skip this whole piece, don't need this anymore. It just goes right into right into the brain. Now we have this each time it spawns, right? So the brain has this information. Now we need to get it into the memory. We need to memorize that. How do we do that? Well, first we're going to start by running the behavior tree, just so that it knows to actually follow the information. I don't know where I put my behavior tree. Oh, it's here. Just so it knows to actually follow this stuff. But how do we memorize that? Well, we use these setting values functions based off of the Blackboard. So we're going to get Blackboard, which I think gets the Blackboard related to this. But if it doesn't, you can always just Blackboard ref, do something like this. And I think it would be, I think it's a Blackboard component, but I could be wrong. No, that's not what I want. Oh, it's right. That's because it's a thing. Yeah, not what I wanted. It's a component. I don't want a component. All right. Blackboard. Blackboard data. Let's try that. That's what I'm looking for. There we go. So if this, for whatever reason, doesn't pull what you need, you just set the reference yourself manually. Get current Blackboard. Component. No, it doesn't want to give me the Blackboard component. All right. Well, let's just hope that this works then. Anyways, you pull in the Blackboard from here, and then you use the name of the key. So in here, our name is new location. So what it's going to do is it's going to grab this Blackboard and say, okay, I want to find this thing called new location. What's that? Well, this is how it's spelled. It's spelled like this. So we're going to make sure we take that. Damn it. There we go. And I'm going to plug that into our name here. New location is the name. And so it's going to search for new location, and if it finds it, it's going to set it to whatever value we want. You'll have to do some math here because it's basically like we get our current root. I'm currently just getting whatever the first index is. What you're going to want to do is get the root and say, what index are we currently on? Are we at 0.1? Are we at 0.2? Are we at 0.3? And you want to go to the next one. So it would be like have basically something like this. Current control index, something like that. Get, and then add 1, plug that in, and then after this, you would, nope, don't want to grab it. I want to set it. You do that, something like that, right? So you set it to the new one. I mean, this part here should be pretty straightforward. Of basically just you get the point you're at and you go to the next one, and then the cycle repeats. You know, it gets to the new point and you move to the next location. If you want to simplify this even further, you can skip the behavior tree entirely. You can skip the blackboard entirely. And you can literally just, I think you can do a move to. Yeah, you can do a move to location. And you do exactly what I just showed you there with the get layer out. Get a ref. Plug that into there. And then set that to what did I have it as before? Set it to control path. That's one. And then plug that into there. Something like that. If we do it this way, it's a little less dynamic, as in you can't change the behaviors up. You can't change the behavior up whenever you want. Give it kind of different decisions to make. But obviously, it's a lot cleaner because it gets rid of that completely, and basically is literally just this. View, where it's just moving from one location to the next. Probably don't want to do this at begin play. What you would want is like maybe a timer or something or an event so that it just constantly does this. So basically, it'll move from like one spot to the next, or an event that fires when it gets to the location that it'll fire. Give it an acceptable radius and all that, but yeah, this will create a much simpler way of doing it, even though it's a little more static. So what happens with the 2 lanes now? Well, pretty easy. I just make another spawn point. And as you can see, I click this, I have my lane. I click this, I do not have my lane. Add 1. Move it to over there. Give me another piece. And I'll move it to over there, something like that. Now I have 2 different lanes. If I set whatever enemies spawn here will follow this path. Whatever enemies spawn here will follow this path of just going from one to the next to the next, if this is kind of the thing that we're doing. Now, if you do it just like this right now, all you're going to get is it going to the first one and then stopping. So you'll need to do it this way and then add in some method of making it kind of move into the next, move into the next, move into the next, which basically just involves firing this, every 2 to 5 seconds or whatever you like. And they'll like probably hang out at the spot for like, a quarter of a second or something like that. Yeah, nothing in the enemy, literally just whatever the lane is, everything is in the brain here, moving to the different locations. And then the spawn point is just where are we spawning? What kind of thing are we spawning? And then sending some information to the enemy's brain when it does spawn. I know we just went over a whole lot of different things in a very short amount of time. So maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot by asking this, but are there any questions about all the stuff we just went over?
We want the AI to attack the towers on the way, and we want them to disappear upon interacting with the crystal, which is like the end goal.
Yeah, so in that case, I would go, instead of doing this method, is to go with the behavior tree that I was showing you before. Because in the behavior tree, then what you can do is basically you'll be using something called decorators. And we can do, or not decorators, new task. Well, you'll use both, but let's say we have a new task. Let's call this attack tower, something like that. And you'll put in some functionality here to make it attack the tower, right? And basically, you do change this to select. And let's add in a decorator here. Disappearing a crystal, could we just do that in a crystal BP on a hitbox? Yeah, that would be the simplest. But why does it give me such a pain or there's nothing with the decorator here? It should be simpler, but okay. Where did my behavior tree go? Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to make a new decorator. I want to apply a decorator. So we're going to apply a decorator. Just to compare Blackboard entries. And basically, we check if we're going to have a bool near live tower, something like this. Again, this is just off the top of my head. I keep losing my behavior tree. I always forget they're just kind of tied in here. If near live tower, oh, I don't want to compare entries. Hold on. I want to do a. I just do Blackboard. And I want a condition. Just giving me ones that are more complicated. So gameplay tag, compare entries, conditional loop. Does path exist for successes at location? Is we entry. A conditional loop. I want this to be, is it true or not? All right. Well, there is an easy way of doing this. I'm just, for whatever reason, not checking the right one. Point is, what we want to do is run a check. I really feel like it's just Blackboard, but I understand it doesn't. The value change is set. This should change things to being able to give me is true, is not, but let's just call it this for now. Basically, what you'll do is you'll have a thing here being like, am I near the tower? If I am near the tower, then go to run this task, which is to attack the tower. And if I'm not moved near the tower, I move towards the new location, something like that. So this is called a selector node. Basically picks one or the other. And we would probably have like a thing here where it actually is going to do like a sequence where it'll move to the tower and then do something else over here. Maybe it'll make a sound or do a particle effect or whatever. And then you could have a third option here where it's like self-destruct or something. Like maybe this is like when they get to the final bit, right? You put in some functionality here for it blowing itself up, or like using its ultimate attack, or in this case, obviously it just, as Jacob said, just walks in and that's it. And then you'd be like a call it self-destruct. Yeah. And basically it'll choose between the three which one it wants to do based on this. You would need another condition here. Is this near the tower? And then on the last one, is it near the crystal? So if it is near the tower, it goes with 1. If it's not near the tower, it goes with 2. If it's near the crystal, it goes with this one. Something like that. Working with behavior trees is very easy. You just need to kind of take some time to learn how to work with them. I can recommend a whole bunch of different tutorials that'll walk you through. It'll probably take you like maybe an hour or two to learn the basics of them. The main thing that I was trying to show you guys is not this anymore because we're using the behavior tree, but is basically using the spawn points to send the data to the behavior tree. This is your missing link. The actual behavior tree stuff, I can give you that. First of all, you can find it on Blackboard, actually, like Humber Blackboard, not this Blackboard, because it's in one of my lecture notes from before that I uploaded into like resources. But more than that, you can also find it in most decent YouTube tutorials. We'll give you one sec. I will see what I can find. I was looking this up for you to see if there was anything good in here. But you can also just behavior trees, Unreal, and do this or do this one actually, probably better, directly from Unreal. 30 minutes. We'll walk you through exactly how it works, all the stuff you need to know about how to get like a patrol thing going, how to work with AI perception and all that, and even the EQS, which you do not need for this project, but would probably be interesting for you to learn about it. I'll paste that in the chat right now.
I assume that applying animation is also included in that video.
Yes. So animation is basically all tied to the animation blueprint. So it kind of works separately. You can really tie any animation to any behavior. You just basically run. I mean, you've been working on it a little bit. As long as the animation blueprint knows whatever kind of parameter you want to set. So if you're jumping, tell it that you're jumping, and then the animation blueprint will be like, oh, I'm going to run, this animation instead. This is sort of the brain, whereas the animation blueprint is the body, if that makes sense.
Got it.
So, Jacob, I know that was a lot of information. You are also welcome to just kind of dig through the stuff that Thomas had put together before, because it does work. It's just it's going to be a lot harder to manipulate, let's say, without having full understanding of it. This will simplify things greatly. But it will take longer to set up at the beginning because you're essentially starting from zero. You thought it would be scarier? No, it's really not. Again, like the behavior tree is the one part that I can see as being a little overwhelming, but I promise if you watch this video, you'll be like, oh shit, that's way more, like that's way easier than I thought it would be. It's very clear cut. And because they do patrolling in the in this, I think they do a demo for the patrolling. They should cover how to get Blackboard information in. Oh yeah, they've got a whole section on Blackboard. And that'll definitely give you more information than I've given you just in the past 20 minutes in terms of how to get Blackboard info in there. Oh, you did work with behavior. Okay, great. Yeah, so then that's the one kind of part that I didn't go too much into, so you should be covered there. Yeah, really the only thing that I wanted to kind of get across is you can send data from this spawn point directly into the controller, which will then you can send directly into the behavior tree, just following this method here, right? You've got a type that you set, and if you want to have multiple types, because I know, maybe there's a melee enemy and a whatever enemy, we just create a child class, call this enemy range, and because this class is derived from the enemy class, we can have it switch. So this one here is going to spawn the ranged class of enemy, and this one here is just going to spawn the regular enemy. And you can do that with as many of them as you want. Similarly, you can have as many routes as you want, just one route per spawn point, and then put as many spawn points down as you want. But yeah, does that part make sense? This was an on-the-fly lecture. Usually I do a little more preparation beforehand, but yeah. Okay.
I mean, as long as I know, we have quite a few of these things already set up.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I guess we need to improve the behavior tree and then the whatever the AI character thing, we need to just make some changes in there.
Yeah, it's mainly about honestly, it's about simplifying. Like when I saw kind of what you guys had worked on last time, the main thing in my head was this is overly complicated for what you guys actually need. Like you really just need characters to follow a path and be able to perform actions, and the behavior tree should be able to cover all of that.
Yeah, so I guess we can. I mean, we would be able to figure it out eventually, so don't need to.
I believe in you guys. You are good programmers. You're smart. There's nothing wrong with the way it was done before. I don't expect you guys to think about things from an architectural standpoint because you've never had to before. So it's all about learning. Okay, I'm just telling Group B I will be there in a minute. Okay. speaking of, I do have to jump to Group B. But yeah, I hope that provided some insight. And yes, definitely watch those videos. I mean, honestly, I would recommend everybody who, is a programmer in Unreal, you should watch those videos. You should learn how behavior trees work. It's pretty kind of basic AI in Unreal. These are the building blocks we use as behavior trees, AI controllers, and blackboards. Excuse me. So it would be beneficial for you to know regardless. Yeah. Thomas is also, he's shot me a message. I'm going to let him know it would be kind of appreciated if he was able to kind of show you guys the ropes of what he worked on, so as not to leave you hanging. But again, take a look into behavior trees and working with that stuff. And I have a feeling you'll be able to simplify this.
I think we'll go with your tutorial instead of what that is sent. Thank you so much for the tutorial, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. I wish it was. I wish I had prepared it a little better. I felt like I was jumping from thing to thing there. I just was kind of going off the cuff. But yeah, okay, guys.
Thank you so much.
No, of course. And I wish you guys luck, and I hope the week is good. Otherwise, okay, I do have to jump. Thank you guys, and I will talk to you all later, okay? Cheers all.
Thank you. Have a good day.
So, Jacob, do you plan to make the base for this? And then maybe for each map, after you set up the base already, we can walk in and help laying out the lanes, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it tonight. I'm gonna start it probably some point soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna